Mr. Reddit Man presents Reddit. What's your best no time to explain? Let's go. Story? A few years back my brother pulled up to my house with a paintball gun and told me to get in. He hands me the gun and says you'll know when to shoot. We go on a short drive to a corner where some kids began to egg his truck. I knew when to shoot. My archaeology crew and I were stuck in La Paz, Bolivia because of civil unrest that cut the roads leading to our dig site. We had been hanging out in La Paz for 2 weeks, trying to stay as warm as possible, and waiting for any opening in the demonstrations. The Bolivian army fired into a crowd, killing several demonstrators, and both sides called a truce for 24 hours. That morning our professor ran into our rented apartment and yelled for us to grab all our gear. We have 5 minutes to leave. We had no idea what was going on. The prof took the next combi, and my poor Spanish skills meant I could not ask questions of my fellow passengers. We boarded one of the first combis out of La Paz and head out to the Altiplano. On the road we passed huge roadblocks, burning tires, piles of broken glass, and various debris with just enough room for a small car to make it through. The roadblocks resumed that night. We made it far enough to hike the remaining 12 hours to the site next day, and then we started digging. Went to a bar some friends and my parents in my hometown for my 21st birthday. Turns into a good 6 hours of drinking. Went to the bathroom, and while closing the lid after finishing, the entire bottom of the bowl shatters. I was legally drunk for my first time in said bar, and proceed to urge very loudly that we needed to leave. No, I do not think you understand. I destroyed a toilet, let's go. When I was 8, my parents took me over to their friend's house for an early dinner party. They had a daughter my age who was also my friend. She was really into animals and nature, so she wanted me to go with her about a block down her street to investigate a bird's nest she saw earlier in a tree. We go. She starts climbing while I'm on the ground watching. Then, about half a block away, this hippie looking surfer dude with long blonde hair and wearing nothing but shorts walks out of this house and notices us. I notice him for about 2 seconds and then look back up in the tree at my friend. Next, I hear a loud whistle, and when I look back in the direction of the surfer dude, he has his shorts down around his ankles with his willy whacker out in all its glory. I yell run. My friend is clueless, but somehow she manages to jump out of the tree and we run back to her house as fast as our pint-sized legs will carry us. Luckily, my dad and her dad were right inside, and when I yelled there's a naked man chasing us, they were outside almost immediately. They find the surfer dude standing right in front of their driveway. I remember my dad saying, "Hey man, are you pulling your pants down in front of children?" And the guy responding with something like "Duck you, man," and then walking away. The amazing thing is that we called the cops and they came over to file a report. But they recommended not pressing charges because the guy knew where we lived and might seek revenge. This was back in the mid-1970s. Hurricane Charlie was going to do a normal ride out the storm situation and play video games and eat junk food all weekend while it rained outside. I got a call from a buddy who said the hurricane just turned 90 degrees and made landfall in Sanibel, like 25 miles away. I rushed into my roommate's room and said grab 2 days worth of clothes. We're getting the duck out of here. When we came back to the house it had been destroyed. The roof leaked and held water in the ceiling until it completely caved in, completely destroying everything we had in there. Not sure if this counts, but I was in high school and despite a hot girl waiting for the bus, being me and knowing I would just awkward all over myself if I tried things the normal way, I got on my best panicked face, ran up to her, and said, quick, there's no time. I need your phone number." She blurted it out. I actually kept it in my head until I could get it down on paper and called her that night. We have been together for 13 years. Got a phone call from my sister one evening, and when I picked up the phone she was clearly running and out of breath. I could just make out her saying open the front door before the line went dead. So I ran to the front door picking up the heaviest thing I could find along the way. It was a climbing helmet BTW. Wrenched the door open and moved out the way just in time to see her bolting into the house past me. I slammed the door and wait for her to catch her breath. There was a giant ducking pheasant chasing me all the way from Tesco. Don't not worry mom, I have got this with that. I donned the climbing helmet and told her to call the police if I was not back in 5 minutes. When I was a kid my village had an evil ducker of a pheasant that would chase old ladies down the street. You could look out of the window and it would be strutting around the village square waiting for a pensioner to attack. Anyway, one day I was out in the garden with my dad, who was plucking a dead pheasant, and this devil bird jumped up onto the high fence and looked at us. I'm not kidding when I say it had the craziest look in its eye. I asked my dad to use my water pistol to blast it, so he pumped it to full power and shot the pheasant in the chest. This crazy bad just gripped the fence for the entire time it was being savaged by the jet of water from my Super Soaker 2000. It did not fall off, and only flew off of its own accord about 10 minutes later. Then a day later I saw it dead in the road. Monash campus, Australia. Hanging around my dad's office. He lectured there, and I got to come in sometimes. Whole campus gets evacuated. Someone runs in, tells my dad there's a kid shooting people and to get the hell off campus. My dad rushes off, and him sitting there, 11 years old, with a face of, well duck, now what? To sum it up, father forgets son during shooting on campus. Parent of the goddamn year. I was in high school, and my friend came running up to me and said, "No time to explain, I need your shoes." I spent the rest of the day walking around the school in socks and some makeshift shoes made out of a cardboard box. I later found out that the reason why my friend needed my shoes was so that he could participate in his chemical lab class and not fail due to his not wearing shoes. Me and my friend are heading to Sonic for lunch. Suddenly he screams, "Pull over," pointing across the road and across 2 lanes of traffic. Why? No time to explain. Geo. So I hit the gas and barely avoid getting creamed. Across the way I see what he noticed first. A man holding down a woman in the dirt near the ditch beside the road and striking her. We start to get out. He sees us, lets her go, and gets in his car. A moment later another car pulls up, and some older women swarm over the struck woman as he begins to drive away. We hop in our car and give chase. I hand him my phone. He calls the cops. We end up leading the way on a car chase with officers slowly assembling en masse behind us. Finally we chase him to a house and block the driveway with our car as he gets out and runs behind the house. Knowing we have no right to chase, we let the police take it from there, but we check the car. It had kids in it. The police interviewed us later, told us that the kids belonged to the woman, and if we had not followed the man, they might not have found the car. Felt like big damn heroes. Best part was on the way home we helped a fella with a broken radiator. And in the middle of getting him taken care of, the police called us after they caught him, and I got to say this awesome line. "Bro, that was Officer Derp. They need us down at the station. Broken radiator guy was all. Who are you?" My brother is 11 years older than me and stayed with my dad when my parents divorced. So I never really got to live with him when we were young. When I was about 14, he barged into my room at 4 AM and told me to pack your malarkey for 4 days. Our flight leaves in 2 hours. Soon after I was on a plane. Turns out, he had planned us a trip to Colorado to go snowboarding and told no one but my mom. 1 hour before he told me. I was at a house party over the summer that started going a bit south. So, my friend and I decided to just get in the car and drive home. We got to the car and were waiting for the third guy in our group when a very drunk guy came up with his red Solo cup of beer. We were friendly to him. Asked him what he was drinking and all. He decided the best reaction to this was to throw the beer at me while I sat in the car. After this happened I noticed a group of about 7 or 8 more drunk people ambling towards the car. They did not look happy. My friend decided the best response to this was to go to the back of his car, grab his shotgun and 2 shells. Oh duck. He stood next to his car with the drunk bastard slowly approaching, yelled at them once, "Get away from my car," while loading the shells. They did not stop. He fired once into the air away from them, cocked the gun, and said again, "Get away from my car." About 1/3 left after that, so he fired once more, and the rest scattered. He had just fired a gun at a house party. Twice. Oh malarkey, oh malarkey, oh malarkey. Our friend then came out of the house screaming. No time to explain. Let's go. We never went back to that house. To sum it up, nearly drunken brawl broken up by shotgun. Walking home from playing football in the park and my dad, aggressively speeding down the road in his car, brakes hard next to me. He looks angry as duck and my little brother is crying, and he sternly says, "Get in." I roll with it, and he speeds around the park looking attentively out the window. My little brother points at a group of lads, maybe 16, 17 years old. One of them is running with my little brother's glasses. He's only about 10 years old. My dad jumps out the car, rugby tackling the lad to the floor. My dad is huge, and the lads look petrified. My dad absolutely bawls at them for about 5 minutes. After that he gets back in the car, and then we go to McDonald's. It was the middle of the night on a road trip with a friend. She's a city mouse. In country. I was driving. She was sleeping, and I started to get sleepy. So I pulled off the highway onto a barely paved road and followed it for a while until I found a wide shoulder to pull off. I parked and we got out so she could have a cigarette. There were loads of stars and we leaned against the car having one of those hushed middle of the night conversations. Then I heard rustling in the woods 8 feet from us. At first I ignored it, but then I realized there was a pattern. I'd hear it at the 10 position, then at 2, then back to 10. It was more than one thing making the rustling noise, and they were getting closer, and I realized something was hunting us. So I put on my power voice and told her get in the car. Her eyes got wide and she hopped in really quick. I jumped in and we took off back to the highway. She turned to me and asked was it an axe murderer or something? I told her no, it was probably wolves, and she got mad at me for scaring her. She did not see how wild animals stalking us could possibly be dangerous. Doing some bodywork on a Cessna 350 when my buddy comes running into the shop with his eyes nearly bugging out of his head. Friend. Goldfish. Come on. Follow me. Me. What is it? I'm busy. Friend. Just come here. Gesturing wildly for me to follow. Me. I have to finish this work. Is it important? Friend. Losing patience in all of his excitement. Just follow me. It's important. Me. I'm not going unless you tell me what it is first. Friend. Kaik. Turns out it was somebody's birthday at work and there was free cake in the break room. You have made it until the end of this video. Now listen here and listen here closely. Like and subscribe for more curated content from Mr. Edit Man. Thanks for watching.